Okay, Reddit. I'm still reeling, and I honestly don't know if I'm the bad guy, a victim, or about to become a vengeful monster. Probably a bit of all three. Buckle up, because this is a ride, and it involves my mother-in-law, a secret I've guarded for over a decade, and a public humiliation that has left my family in tatters. It happened right in the middle of my daughter's 11th birthday dinner. My mother-in-law, Linda, a woman who has viewed me with thinly veiled disdain since the day her precious son Mark introduced me, stood up, slammed her wine glass down with enough force to make the cutlery jump, and called me garbage. Not just garbage, mind you, but lying, manipulative garbage. This pronouncement was delivered at top volume in a crowded, fairly upscale restaurant, ensuring every patron, waiter, and probably the poor souls in the kitchen got an earful. The reason for this little outburst: she'd just discovered and decided to announce to the world that my oldest daughter, Ellie, the birthday girl herself, isn't Mark's biological child. To give you some context, Mark and I have been married for 11 wonderful, if occasionally chaotic, years. We have three amazing kids: Ellie, now 11, poor thing, Jake, 8, and little Riley, 5. Linda, from day one, has been a presence. She's the matriarch of her own mind, fiercely protective of Mark, whom she still refers to as my boy. Despite him being a grown man with a mortgage and a receding hairline, her obsession with what she calls family purity and legacy has always been unnerving, like something out of a period drama where everyone's worried about the bloodline. She tolerates me, I think, mostly because Mark made it clear I wasn't going anywhere, but like isn't in her vocabulary when it comes to me. So, picture this. Ellie's birthday dinner. We're at her favorite Italian place. She's beaming, surrounded by her siblings, us, and a few close family friends. Linda was of course invited. She'd been oddly quiet for most of the meal, which in hindsight should have been a red flag the size of Texas. Then, just as the cake was about to come out, she stood up. She had this triumphant, almost crazed look in her eyes. She started by saying she had an announcement for the good of the family, and then launched into a tirade about how she'd had suspicions for years about Ellie's paternity. Apparently, this angel of a woman had secretly obtained DNA samples from Mark and Ellie. How, I still don't know, maybe a stray hair from a brush, a used napkin. The thought makes my skin crawl. She brandished a printout, waving it like a war banner, declaring that the results proved Mark wasn't Ellie's father. Then came the accusations. I was a liar, a cheat, a gold digger who had trapped her son. She called me damaged goods. And yes, garbage. She accused me of deceiving the entire family, of tainting their precious bloodline. The entire restaurant went silent. You could hear forks clatter as people stopped eating, mouths agape. My sweet Ellie just crumpled. Her face went white, then red, and then she burst into tears, burying her face in Mark's chest. Jake and Riley, confused and scared, started crying too. Mark was incandescent with rage. He told Linda, in a voice I've never heard him use before, low, cold, and utterly furious, to get out and never speak to us again. He grabbed my hand, ushered the sobbing kids out, leaving a stunned restaurant and a smirking Linda behind. Now, here's the kicker, the part Linda so dramatically revealed. Mark has known about Ellie's biological origins since before we even got engaged. He knows Ellie isn't biologically his. This isn't a secret I kept from him. It's a secret we kept together. For Ellie. The truth is, Ellie was conceived when I was 24, the result of a non-consensual assault. It was a horrific time in my life, and the aftermath was a blur of trauma, confusion, and a desperate need to protect the innocent life that came from it. When Mark came into my life, Ellie was still an infant, just a few months old. He was my rock. I told him everything, every painful detail about her conception, before our relationship became serious. He listened, he held me, and he loved Ellie as if she were his own from the very start. For Ellie, Mark has always been dad. She has no memories of a time before him. He is her dad in every single way that matters. We decided together to raise Ellie as our own, planning to tell her the truth gently, surrounded by love and support, when she was older and emotionally ready. Linda, with her restaurant bombshell, just blew that plan to smithereens. The car ride home was a blur of tears and whispered comforts. Explaining this to an 11-year-old in the immediate aftermath of such a vicious public attack was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. We'd always planned to tell Ellie about her biological origins, but on our terms, with love and careful preparation, ensuring she understood Mark's unwavering role as her father. Not like this. Not because her grandmother decided to use it as a weapon to shatter her world. Mark has been incredible. He's reiterated to Ellie 1,000 times that he's her dad, that nothing changes that Linda is a cruel woman who did a terrible thing. He's barely left my side, constantly checking if I'm okay, shielding me from the worst of it. He immediately cut off all contact with Linda, telling her she was dead to him until she issued a genuine public apology to me, and more importantly to Ellie. But the damage is done. Ellie is traumatized. She's withdrawn, quiet, and I see her looking at Mark with this heartbreaking uncertainty, processing this new, unwelcome information about her life. The local rumor mill, thanks to Linda's big mouth and subsequent Facebook post, yes, she took it online, is in overdrive. People are whispering. Some parents at Ellie's school have given me the side eye. Linda's version, of course, paints me as a scheming homewrecker who cheated throughout the entire marriage, a blatant lie, as Mark knew from the beginning, and is now poisoning Mark's mind against his loving mother. She's playing the victim, naturally, claiming she was just trying to protect her son and grandchildren from a web of lies. The sheer audacity is breathtaking. I feel like I'm drowning. My primary concern is Ellie and her well-being. We're looking into therapy for her, for all of us probably. But a part of me, a dark, angry part, is screaming for revenge. This woman didn't just hurt me. She traumatized my child by callously revealing a sensitive truth in the most damaging way possible. She slandered my name, and she tried to destroy my family for her own twisted satisfaction. Mark is focused on damage control and supporting us, but I can see the fury simmering beneath his calm exterior too. He said he'll handle his mother, but I know Linda. She won't stop. She's on a crusade. So, Reddit, here's where I'm at. I'm oscillating between wanting to curl up in a ball and wanting to burn her entire world down. How do I protect my kids and our reputation when my mother-in-law is actively campaigning to save her son and grandkids from me by painting me as some kind of monster? Am I the bad guy for even thinking about retaliating in a way that could cause even more drama? Or is this one of those situations where you have to fight fire with napalm? What should my next move be? Do I try to reason with an unreasonable woman, or do I start gathering my own ammunition? Update 1. It's been a few days since my initial post, and if I thought the birthday dinner disaster was rock bottom, I was hilariously, tragically wrong. I genuinely thought the worst was over, that Linda would eventually crawl back under her rock of self-righteousness after Mark's ultimatum. But no. I found out Linda was contacting my children's teachers behind my back, and that was just the appetizer in her new 5-course meal of making my life hell. The dust from Ellie's birthday party hadn't even settled when I got a call from Ellie's homeroom teacher. She sounded concerned. Apparently, Linda had emailed her and the school principal, spinning a wild tale about my unstable influence and questioning my fitness as a mother. She hinted at deeply troubling secrets in our home, referring, no doubt, to the truth she so cruelly exposed, and suggested the school keep a close eye on Ellie for signs of distress. Distress that Linda herself single-handedly caused. The sheer nerve of this woman, she's basically trying to get Child Protective Services sniffing around because her son won't let her emotionally abuse his family anymore. Mark went ballistic. He immediately scheduled a meeting with the principal, armed with a timeline of Linda's harassment and a very clear explanation of the situation, minus the deeply personal details of Ellie's conception, which are no one's business but ours, and Ellie's, when she's ready to discuss them further. The school, thankfully, seemed to understand that Linda was the one creating the problem and assured us they wouldn't entertain her baseless accusations. Mark also lodged a formal complaint against Linda, with them for harassment of school staff and attempting to interfere with our children's education. Small victory, but it felt good. But Linda's warpath didn't stop at the school gates. Oh no. She then launched a whisper campaign at her church, a place where she's cultivated an image as a pillar of the community, a devout Christian woman. She's been telling anyone who will listen that I'm a homewrecker. How, when Mark and I were solid, he knew everything before she meddled. that I've ensnared her son, and that she's praying for his deliverance. Some of her cronies have been giving us pitying looks or outright avoiding us. It's like living in a soap opera, but without the good lighting or commercial breaks. She's also been trying to rally Mark's extended family, attempting to pressure him to see sense and leave the liar. She's been calling his aunts, uncles, cousins, anyone who will pick up the phone, feeding them her twisted narrative. Thankfully, most of Mark's family know Linda's penchant for drama and control, and many of them have known me for years and see through her charade. A few, however, the more impressionable ones who always bought into Linda's perfect family facade, are wavering. We've had a couple of awkward calls from relatives suggesting Mark hear his mother out. It's exhausting. Through all this, Mark has been my champion. He's shut down every flying monkey, defended me fiercely, and reaffirmed his love and commitment to our family a million times over. But I can see the toll it's taking on him, being forced to choose between his mother and his family. Even though for him it's no choice at all. This brings me to my mini revenge. As some of you suggested, I started documenting. Oh, I'm documenting every email, every screenshot of her slanderous Facebook posts, which she conveniently deletes and reposts with slight variations, every secondhand account of her gossip. I've started a dossier. It's quite the collection of crazy. And I found an unexpected ally, Mark's younger sister, Clara. Clara has always had a strained relationship with Linda. She despises her mother's controlling nature and her constant judgment. When Clara heard what Linda did at Ellie's party, she was livid. She called me, offered her unwavering support, and then dropped a little hint. She said something along the lines of, "Mom's always been good at pointing fingers, but she's got a closet full of skeletons herself. If you ever need to fight back, I know where some of them are buried." Intrigued is an understatement. The worst part of all this is seeing my kids suffer. Ellie is being incredibly brave, but I know she's hurting. She's quieter at school, wrestling with this new reality about her origins. And a couple of kids, undoubtedly parroting their parents who've heard Linda's bile, have made snide comments. The other day, she came home and asked me, with tears in her eyes, if she was someone's dirty mistake. My heart shattered into a million pieces. Holding her and trying to reassure her while my own blood was boiling with rage at Linda was an out-of-body experience. Jake and Riley are also picking up on the tension, asking why Grandma is being so mean and why Daddy is so angry with her. And just when I thought Linda couldn't sink any lower, she showed up at our house yesterday, unannounced, with a pastor I've never seen before, some sternly looking man from a church we don't attend. She tried to barge in, claiming they were there for a family intervention and to pray for the spirit of deceit to be cast out of me. Yes, you read that right. An exorcism. For my lies. Mark managed to get them off our porch without things escalating physically, but it was close. He told her if she ever came near our house again, he'd call the police and get a restraining order. She just stood there, looking smug, like she was the one being persecuted. I'm trying to stay strong for Mark and the kids, but I'm running on fumes and fury. The comments on my last post were so helpful, making me feel less alone and less crazy for wanting to fight back. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about protecting my children from this relentless campaign of malice. Clara texted me last night after the pastor incident. All it said was, "Heard about Mom's latest stunt. She's really lost it. Wait until you see what she's really hiding. Are you ready to make her regret ever crossing us?" Honestly, Reddit, I think I am. Am I wrong to team up with my sister-in-law to potentially unearth things that could destroy Linda? Is this sinking to her level, or is it self-preservation at this point? Update 2 OK Reddit. It's been a wild week since my last update. And let me tell you, Linda may call herself the family's moral compass, the shining example of piety and virtue. But what Clara and I found makes her look like a hypocrite of truly epic proportions. After Clara's tantalizing text, I met up with her. She was hesitant at first, not wanting to cause more drama, but Linda's escalation, the school, the church, the attempted exorcism, pushed her over the edge. She said Linda had been holding certain family secrets over her head for years, using them for leverage and control, and she was done. It was time for the Queen of Judgment to face some judgment of her own. Clara didn't just have vague suspicions. She had a starting point. Years ago, she'd accidentally stumbled upon some letters and a separate bank statement hidden in Linda's home office. At the time, she hadn't understood the full implications, but now, with adult eyes, she suspects her mother wasn't the saint she pretended to be, so we did some digging. Clara still had occasional access to the family home to check on things, while Linda was out trying to ruin my life. Ironically, and she knew Linda's hiding spots. What we unearthed was spectacular. We found old photographs, not just slightly risque, but full-blown evidence of long-term extramarital affairs, plural, with at least two different men, one of whom was a prominent and very married figure in their old church community. There were hotel receipts, dates stamped from times Linda claimed to be on spiritual retreats or visiting sick friends. There was a secret bank account, not with a huge amount, but definitely used for clandestine expenses. And the cherry on top, a series of saved text messages on an old phone, not just with her lovers, but with other relatives, where Linda explicitly admitted to manipulating family members against each other, twisting stories to maintain her position as the family's central figure and puppet master. She literally called it keeping everyone in their place. The sheer calculated malice was astounding. Mark was shocked when we showed him the evidence. He knew his mother was difficult and judgmental, but he never imagined this level of deceit. He felt betrayed, not just for us, but for his late father, who had apparently been oblivious. After the initial shock, his anger solidified into a cold resolve. He said Linda had built her entire identity on a throne of lies and hypocrisy, and it was time for that throne to crumble. So we formulated a plan, a quiet, anonymous plan at first. With Clara's help, she knew all the key players in Linda's social circle. We started to leak anonymous tips and carefully selected pieces of evidence to Linda's most judgmental friends and her current church leadership. We didn't dump everything at once, just enough to plant serious seeds of doubt. A blurry photo here, a redacted bank statement there, a hint about unsettling correspondence. We let their own gossipy natures do the rest. And boy, did it work. Linda's carefully constructed reputation began to crack, then shatter. Her closest friend, a woman who often joined Linda in casting aspersions on others, apparently confronted her. We heard through the grapevine, which is now ironically working against Linda, that this friend organized a prayer group for Linda's soul, which is code for, "We all know you're a mess, and we're going to talk about it piously." The church leadership, who had initially been sympathetic to Linda's concerns about me, suddenly became very distant. They reportedly asked her to step down from her various committee positions while she deals with some personal matters. Oh, the delicious, understated burn of it all. Linda, of course, is claiming she's being targeted in a vicious smear campaign, a vendetta orchestrated by evil influences. That's me, folks. But no one's really buying it. Too many people remember the chaos she's rained down on our family and others for years. Her credibility is shot. The whispers are now about her, and they're not kind. At home, things are slowly starting to heal. Mark had another long talk with Ellie, reinforcing that he is her dad no matter what, and that Linda's actions come from Linda's own brokenness, not from anything Ellie is or isn't. Ellie is still fragile, still processing the truth about Mark not being her biological father, but she's also seeing the unwavering nature of his love. And that's making a huge difference. I see a little more light in her eyes. We've started family therapy, and it seems to be helping all of us process this nightmare. As for my petty side, well, it got a little outing. I posted a cryptic status on my rarely used social media. Interesting how those who live by the sword of gossip and judgment might want to check their own closets for skeletons. Sometimes they're not even well hidden. I didn't name names, but in our small community, with the rumors already swirling about Linda, people speculated, and many of them knew exactly who I meant. It felt surprisingly good. Now, here's the new dilemma: Reddit. Clara found something else, something bigger. Linda has been the head organizer of a local charity gala for years. It's her crowning social achievement. Clara found evidence, very compelling evidence, that suggests Linda hasn't just been fudging attendance numbers, but potentially skimming funds. Actual financial fraud. This isn't just about affairs and gossip anymore. This is criminal. The gala is next month. We have this information, this nuke. Part of me wants to expose it all, to see her utterly ruined. Another part is scared of the fallout of the potential legal mess. Mark is torn too. He wants his mother to face consequences, but this is a whole other level. So, am I the bad guy if we consider going public with the very worst evidence we have, her potential fundraising fraud at her beloved charity gala? Is that taking revenge too far? Or is it ensuring she can't hurt anyone else with her deceptions? Update 3 well. Reddit. It's been about a month, and I can definitely say Linda spent her whole life making people fear her judgment and bask in her self-proclaimed moral superiority. Last night, at her prestigious annual charity gala, we made sure the curtain dropped on that performance for good, and it wasn't pretty. But honestly, I'm not sure I feel as bad as I thought I would. The debate about the fundraising fraud evidence was intense. Mark, Clara, and I went back and forth for weeks. Was it too much? Were we becoming the monsters we were fighting? But every time we leaned toward letting it go, Linda would do something to remind us why we started down this path. She tried to send apology gifts to the kids, all addressed from Grandma who loves you and prays for your mother's soul. She attempted to corner Mark at his office, and even had one of her remaining cronies try to badmouth me to my own boss. It became clear that she wasn't going to stop unless she was well and truly stopped. Her apologies were hollow, self-serving attempts to regain control, not genuine remorse. The charity gala was Linda's magnum opus, her yearly moment in the local spotlight. She pranced around like the queen bee, accepting accolades, her hypocrisy apparently forgotten or ignored by those still in her orbit, or perhaps those who simply hadn't heard the full extent of the whispers. This year, she was set to give a heartfelt speech, complete with a touching family slideshow, presumably one that conveniently edited me and reality out. Clara, who still had some volunteer access due to her reluctant involvement in previous galas, saw an opportunity, a very dramatic, very public opportunity. Here's how it went down. Linda took the stage, beaming under the spotlights, dressed to the nines. She started her speech, all saccharine sentiment and feigned humility. The slideshow was supposed to begin behind her, showcasing her charitable works and loving family. Instead, thanks to Clara's technical skills and some strategically swapped USB drives, the giant screen lit up with something entirely different. First, a few tasteless photos from her affairs. Gasps rippled through the ballroom. Linda faltered, her smile frozen. Then screenshots of those damning text messages where she boasted about manipulating family members. More murmurs, louder this time. Then the piece de resistance. Scanned copies of the suspicious bank statements, invoices with inflated numbers, and emails hinting at the misappropriation of charity funds. Clara even managed to get a short, looped audio clip of Linda on a call. Ethically dubious, I know, but we were past caring about the rules of fair play at this point, discussing creative accounting for the foundation. The silence in that ballroom was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop on the plush carpet. Linda turned, saw what was on the screen, and her face went from confused to horrified to a truly spectacular shade of puce. She tried to stammer something, but her microphone seemed to conveniently cut out. Another touch of Clara's genius, I suspect. People were staring, whispering, and pointing. Some were openly aghast. A few key sponsors, seated at prominent tables, looked like they'd swallowed wasps. The event effectively imploded. Within minutes, people started leaving, the buzz of scandal filling the void left by the abruptly ended program. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Several major sponsors publicly announced they were pulling their support from the charity pending a full investigation. The church leadership, already wary, issued a statement formally distancing itself from Linda and her activities. Her social empire, built on years of careful curation and ruthless judgment, crumbled in a single evening. Linda is now, for all intents and purposes, a pariah. Most of her extended family has blocked her online and aren't returning her calls. Mark has maintained his no-contact stance, telling her through Clara that any communication would have to go through lawyers if the fraud allegations proved true. We anonymously tipped off the relevant authorities and the charity board with the full dossier after the gala. She's tried sending more apology letters, this time sounding genuinely desperate, but no one believes her sincerity. Her manipulations are now a matter of public record, or at least very public rumor mill fodder. The taste of her own medicine is apparently incredibly bitter. As for us, we're healing. Slowly but surely, we're all continuing with therapy. Ellie is doing remarkably well. Jake and Riley are just happy the scary tension in the house is gone. Clara has become a fixture in our lives, a true friend and aunt to the kids now that she's free from Linda's oppressive shadow. We've had more family game nights and genuine laughter in the past month than we've had in years. Mark and I have had long talks about everything. We agree that protecting our children will always be our absolute priority. We've learned the hard way about boundaries and the lengths some people will go to maintain control. We're moving forward, trying to let go of the anger and bitterness, though it's a process. Linda is no longer a part of our lives. And while there's a strange sort of grief for the mother Mark wishes he had, there's also profound relief. So, Reddit, that's the saga. It was messy, it was ugly, and parts of it felt very, very wrong even as we were doing them. But looking at my kids, seeing them smile freely without the weight of Linda's toxicity hanging over us, I can't say I regret it. Did Linda finally get exactly what she spent her life dishing out? I think so. Was this level of revenge the only way to protect my family from her relentless campaign and, dare I say, generational trauma? Maybe. It certainly feels like it right now. Were we the ultimate bad guys for orchestrating her downfall, or were we just parents pushed too far?